Assalamu alaikum. My dear students, the topic of our lecture today is a very important topic, which is teaching reading to English language learners. As language learners, you need to pay special attention to developing students' reading skills. And here we have some important terms related to the idea of reading as a skill and to teaching reading. First, we have reading comprehension. It refers to the level of understanding of a text or a message. This understanding comes from interaction between the words that are written and how they trigger knowledge outside the text or the message. So we have the connection between the words available in the text and the student's knowledge. In this case, we have students' understanding of the content of the text, which is included in the process of reading. In the process of understanding a text, we have two directions, either bottom up or top down. First, we start with bottom up, in which is a model of reading ability. It's primarily concerned with the recognition of individual letters, phonemes, and words. This model believes that the reading process begins with individual recognition of letters and phonemic counterparts, and this knowledge then leads to the recognition of individual words of the text presented to the reader. So here we start from parts to whole. We understand part, start from understanding letters. Letters help the students to understand words, and words help the students to understand the whole text. So here we start from understanding and recognizing parts, and then we move to the whole text. Okay, in relation to top-down model, this model of reading gives a complete picture in and out of itself. This means that the students try to understand the whole text when they read it. They are not paying attention to details. In reality, it seems that reading a process is a conglomeration, which means a connection, a combination of the two models. The top-down model and the bottom-up model, which means that the students are supposed to read the text, paying attention to letters, words, and the meaning of the letters and words. Then this will be helpful to the students to understand the whole text in higher level of thinking skills, which means the level of analysis. And after understanding, we will have the level of analysis, application, and so on. A very important technique that learners should be familiar with when reading is skimming. Skimming is a technique that readers use when they want a quick and general sense of what's covered by a text. So in this case, students try to understand the text quickly. In this case, they will read searching for specific information. Like the reader looks for keywords, character names, subjects, specific vocabulary, and so on. Also, we have headings, diagrams, pictures, words in bold print, and opening and closing paragraphs. So the purpose of skimming is to identify the author's main idea at high rate of speed. When students do the process or use the technique of skimming, they read the text looking for specific information which is important for understanding the text. Skimming for keywords. During this process, the teacher provides the class with a short reading passage on chart paper or an overhead, or distributes individual copies to students, or the text available in the students' textbook, the reading passages available in the students' textbooks. The teacher then explains the term skimming. Students are asked to read the passage quickly without stopping, to read every word, and to note any key words that help them to understand what the passage is about. So the teacher explains the idea of skimming to the students, describes it that it includes reading it quickly with looking at important keywords that help to the understanding of the passage. The teacher explains that these words are found in headings, diagrams, pictures, and words in bold type. Students identify keywords that help them to understand the passage. The group discusses how these keywords were found and in what way they facilitated understanding. So here the students will be familiar with the idea of skimming and they know how skimming is supposed to be done during the process of writing. Another idea or another technique which is used during the process of reading is scanning. Scanning is a technique used to quickly locate something specific in a text. The reader glances through the text, focusing on keywords and sentences that relate to the information being sought. A reader may scan a text such as a phone book to find a phone number or receipt to see the ingredients are needed. What ingredients are needed, or reading passage to identify the setting or the name of a character. So, in what way scanning is different from skimming? In skimming, we read the text quickly and we try to look for the information, important information. But in scanning, we read the text and we know that what is the information that we are looking at in the text. So we do not focus upon any other information. We focus upon only one specific information that we want to find. In this case, the teacher provides the class with a short reading passage on chart paper or an overhand or distributes individual copies of students and again uh, sometimes the text or most of the time the text which is available in the student's textbook. The teacher explains the term scanning to the students. Students find keywords in the passage that provide specific information about the topic. They may want to highlight or underline these keywords if they have their own copies of the passage. Alternatively, the teacher asks students to scan the text to find a specific word or sentence. So, the teacher asks the students to find a specific sentence, or he provides them with a question the answer to this question is available in the specific sentence in the text. So they will read the whole text quickly looking for this specific information. The group discusses how they found these keywords and how these words helped them to find the information they needed. There are two purposes of reading. We have intensive reading and extensive reading. Intensive and extensive reading are classified into these two types according to the purpose for which students read. Reading for a high degree of comprehension and retention over a long period of time is known as intensive reading. It means that readers take a text, study it line by line in details, and refer to the grammar and meaning of the new vocabulary of the text. So the aim of studying this text or reading this text is to understand new grammatical structures and new vocabulary items. The purpose is getting literal meaning of the text, example reading of textbooks. When we read textbooks, we attempt to understand or the passages available in the textbook. We sometimes have the aim of understanding new grammatical structures and new vocabulary items. While in extensive reading, the purpose is different. When learners read extensively, they read very easily enjoyable books to build their reading speed and fluency. Another way to say this is as students learn to read by actually reading rather than examining text by studying the vocabulary, grammar, and phrases. So in this case, students know that they read for enjoyment and information. When reading, they read for enjoyment and information without giving specific emphasis to the grammatical structures or extensive reading includes reading rapidly. The purpose is for pleasure and information. In this type of reading, attention is paid to the meaning of the text, not the language. I mean, not the grammatical structures and vocabulary items or new vocabulary items, although the teacher should attract the attention to the meaning of a new word because this is important for understanding the text. Example for extensive reading, reading our newspaper, magazines, novels, etc. Extensive reading could be available inside the classroom and outside the classroom. In what sense? In the sense that sometimes the the textbook includes passages or reading passages which are introduced only for the sake of the pleasure and information. So the students uh, do not find the new grammatical structures, they find only a pleasure and new information. So, and it also could be done outside the classroom by reading newspapers, magazines, novels, stories, and the target language, even short stories, simplified stories, and the target language in order to develop students' reading. During the process of reading, we have a very important point, which is word recognition. Word recognition. Of course, we are all familiar with the difficulty of reading the text because of the difficulty to pronounce certain words. Sometimes the students, when reading aloud, pronounce a large number of words in a wrong way because they cannot know or they don't have the skill of word recognition. To read English words, we learn to match sounds or phonemes with letters or graphemes. When we learn to read English words, we learn to perform several steps very rapidly. First, we identify the first letter or letters and try to find matching phoneme. Then, working left to right, we match the rest of the graphemes and phonemes. So we should match letters and sounds. Letters, what we mean by graphemes and phonemes, we mean match letters and sounds. Holding these sounds in our working memory, we combine them to form mental representation that we attempt to match with a word from our listening vocabulary. So when we match the letters with sounds, we try to make the idea of word recognition and understand how the word is produced during the process of reading, especially reading orally or loud reading. So in this case, when the lightning fast process has occurred, we can access its meaning, the meaning of the word. And of course, if we are reading out loud, there are additional steps needed in order to pronounce the word. The students are supposed to know how to pronounce the word correctly in order to be able to read it fluently. Accessing and recognizing individual words is called word recognition. Word recognition. And recognizing the sounds and meaning of words across connected text is what we call decoding. Decoding refers to understanding. Decoding refers to understanding, which means understanding the connection between the sounds of words and the meanings of words. There are two broad categories of words in English: those with easy to match phonemes and graphemes, in which it's very easy to match the letters with sounds. We don't have much difference between letters and sounds. In this case, these words are very easy to understand and they are called decodable words. And those that have to be other words which have difference between letters and sounds are known as sight words, and they are supposed to be memorized. They are supposed to be memorized because they are not decodable. They are not easy to be decoded or understood. That's why they are supposed to be memorized. Decoding and sight word recognition are the primary word attack skill used for English word recognition. So in English word recognition, we have two ways of understanding or knowledge of words. Either decodable words, we understand them easily because we have matching between sounds and letters, or phonemes and graphemes, or sight words which are memorized. There are good reasons that English words are taught through both decoding and memorization. Of course, both ways are available, and students are supposed to learn words according to the, let us say, the nature of the word itself. Of course, the teacher should attract the students' attention to the way the certain sounds are pronounced, or the way in which the difference in which we have difference between spelling and pronunciation, between phonemes and graphemes. When learners decode English words, when they try to understand and recognize English words, they start with letter symbols and match them with sounds, and then they write English words. They start with the sounds and match them with letter symbols. No matter which end we start from, both processes involve matching the English sound and the letter symbol combination. So matching sounds and letters is the most important process. It doesn't matter if you start with sounds, then you move to letters, or you start with letters moving to sounds. The skill of matching sounds and letter symbols is called phonemics. The skill of matching sounds and letters is called phonemics. Sorry, phonics. Phonics. Phonics knowledge requires a good understanding of how English sound and writing system maps onto each other. As I have just mentioned, it needs or requires understanding of the difference between spelling and pronunciation. In order to help learners to develop phonics skill, teachers need to understand how the phonemes and the graphemes of English work together in the English writing system. The teacher also needs to appreciate how the orthographies of English language learners' first language resemble and differ from English, and how that affects learning to read. The teacher attracts the students' attention to the difference between spelling and pronunciation in certain words in English. At the same time, the teacher attracts the students' attention to the similarities and differences between the sounds and phonemes in their native language and sounds and phonemes in the target language, in order to help them to understand new words or how words are pronounced. The letters of the Greek alphabet of English, on the other hand, can be pronounced with several sounds. The simple to sound correspondence of English letters is messy, especially with respect to vowels. So here in English, sometimes we have difficulty with pronouncing vowels because vowels can be pronounced in different ways in different words. For example, we have the letter A. or A, for example, can be pronounced in at least 6 different ways, as in hat, father, so, again, say, said. As a result, children learning to decode English take considerably longer to learn to decode words containing the letter A. So, in this case, teachers need to pay special attention to the pronunciation of vowels when pronouncing words. Combining the study of reading and spelling helps learners to manipulate written and oral code in both directions. Make sure that encoding spelling and decoding reading are connected at every level of instruction by looking visual memory, listening the auditory memory, and writing the kinesthetic memory. So in this case, we have the combination between the reading and the spelling. Reading and spelling. We have the idea of encoding, which is represented by spelling, encoding, understanding the spelling of the word. And this understanding will appear in decoding when we produce the word, when we read it loudly. So in this case, spelling and reading are known as encoding and decoding. Encoding and decoding, which are connected. So in this case, they are connected by the visual memory, which means looking at words, the auditory memory, which means listening to words, and writing memory, which means understanding words by writing them by themselves. Thank you very much. That's all for our lecture today.